I'm going to tell you a story about a lawsuit, and it underlines the importance of protecting your assets now because this touches the hearts of so many Americans. So why protect your assets now? He was just 28 years old. Joe Taylor, whose name has been changed to protect the innocent, was a young, trusting, wannabe entrepreneur who had visions of sugar plums dancing in his head. He had recently attended one of those large get-rich-quick seminars at a large Seattle hotel that he had seen advertised on late-night TV. And in the end, I'm going to reveal exactly who Joe is. And meanwhile, if you could please click the like button, it would really help me out for YouTube to promote this video to more people like you. And while you're down there, please also click the subscribe button so that when more videos come out like this, you'll get notified. Now, Joe had taken his knowledge, what little he possessed, and drove to the coast with his pregnant wife to meet the seller of a dilapidated 6-unit apartment building in the slums of Tacoma, Washington. He cleverly negotiated a deal of $3,000 down and monthly payments of $493 to the seller. Over the next couple of years, he managed the property, learning how to evict prostitutes, drug dealers, gang members, and collect rents. He picked bullets out of the walls with a pocket knife on more than one occasion after some all-too-familiar drive-by shootings. Rooked by a con man. Joe decided to fix up the property, so he took what little money he made from renting the property and tapped his meager savings account to make improvements on the building. A fellow church member introduced him to a contractor at a friend's housewarming party. The contractor, who had recently joined the same congregation, was in his mid-40s, new to town, handsome, well-groomed, and smooth-talking. The contractor said he desperately needed money to pay some back taxes. Moreover, he would do the work for cheap if Joe paid him $8,000 up front. In exchange, he would paint the building inside and out, replace the cabinets, put in new floors in all 6 units. Joe obliged, thinking he was both helping out a fellow parishioner and getting a bargain. The trusting soul. The inevitable happened. The contractor spent the money on his taxes and had none left over to finish the job. So the builder approached a factory financing company, a real break-your-knees joint on the Seattle waterfront, to obtain a short-term loan. The work ensued, and 30 days later, the contractor had a problem. The factor financing loan became due. Shortly thereafter, the contractor asked Joe if he could borrow money to pay it off. In turn, the contractor would get another loan from the factor financing company to repay Joe. Joe complied and paid the contractor's lender directly. The contractor got a second loan. The contractor repaid Joe, and the fix-up work continued. Subsequently, the same scenario occurred 2 more times, with Joe getting repaid and the contractor continuing the job. The heartbreaker. Then the world collapsed. Joe got a call from the lender that said the $70,000 loan was due. What $70,000 loan? Joe asked. The contractor had been forging Joe's signature on the factor financing documents. Joe had been set up. The contractor had Joe repay the loans directly to the lender to make it appear that Joe and the contractor were in cahoots. The day the big burly guy pulled up in front of Joe's house with the lawsuit papers was the day that Joe and his wife brought home the couple's second child from the hospital, a newborn son. The lawsuit battle. A 4-year knockdown, drag-out legal battle ensued. The legal bills were devastating. It was like a vacuum cleaner sucking dollars out of Joe's bank account. Those were 4 long years where Joe would lie on his back at night, staring at the ceiling in a pool of sweat, worrying about how he would provide for his family. Would the family of 4 be kicked out on the streets, homeless, begging for pennies? Then he would look to his left, and there was his wife lying in bed in a pool of sweat, staring at the ceiling. Research revealed that the contractor, a former drug dealer, had for years run a chain of cons from Hawaii to Texas to Florida, leaving a string of victims in his wake. The wake-up call. The young couple's friends couldn't understand. You guys are just victims. Can't you just tell the courts this? Can't you just tell them that? If you've never been in a lawsuit, it's difficult to understand. The reasoning of an ordinary human being and the rationale of the courts are 2 different animals. It's like a pit bull has you by the throat and only lets go when it decides to let go. Then you have to convince a jury of 12 strangers that you're innocent of wrongdoing while your opponent is hell-bent on making you look like the devil incarnate. The ordeal wiped Joe out financially. Lawsuits take lawyers, and Joe had no money left to pay them. The lender seized Joe's small apartment building, Plus, the legal bills had left his bank accounts dry. Thereafter, he and his wife filed a no-asset bankruptcy. Thus, it left them penniless. What's more, the contractor ended up in prison for 9 months. All learned a painful lesson. You are not alone. Joe and his family are not alone. The United States has just 5% of the world's population, 80% of the world's lawyers, and 96% of the world's lawsuits. Legal experts agree that there are literally millions of lawsuits people file in the U.S. every year, and those same people would not pursue them overseas. Many of these lawsuits are filed by lawyers who must litigate to survive. A survey conducted by Harris Interactive revealed the following. 76% of the people surveyed feel that the fear of frivolous lawsuits discourages people from performing normal activities. Only 16% of the people trust the legal system to defend themselves against frivolous lawsuits. 54% don't trust the legal system at all. 94% agree that there is a rising tendency for people to threaten legal action. 83% feel that the legal system makes it far too easy to make bogus claims. 56% believe that fundamental changes are needed to improve the civil justice system. And the most revealing result was that 87% of Americans surveyed agreed that the justice system was used by many as a lottery by filing lawsuits and seeing how much they can win. Joe went on to become the CEO of the largest asset protection firm in the United States, with some of the top asset protection attorneys and consultants on staff to protect people's assets from the dangers of lawsuits. Oh, by the way, who is Joe? Joe is me. This is the business guy.